there are some ideas in free market society that I'm really not fond of. I'm going to be honest, it's less about free market society and more about how people do life, put simply. And that I need to kind of make quite clear. That said, however, there are these things that happen, and one of them is this concept of things like Christmas in July. And that's what I'm going to talk about today on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt. Today is Saturday, the 31st of July of 2021. Welcome to everybody who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. Thank you for coming along today. And again, the subject for the day is Christmas in July. And I'm going to go ahead and go through my notes real quickly, again, just to give you a little bit of an idea where I am on this. Nothing says ignore the history of Christmas like people using misguided sentiments of modern-day Christmas to make someday in July a duplicate of their foolish notion. There are many arguments as to what Christmas is. That said, to the Christian, for whose leader Christmas is, after all, named, Christmas is and always should be about the coming of the Christ, about the coming of Jesus. This idea has been slowly polluted over the course of time. Take a man who was ostensibly a saint. You know him as Saint Nick, Santa Claus, Saint Nicholas, and so many other names, and turn him into a jolly old present dispenser. Why add that Jesus into the mix? He just makes us feel guilty and impotent. The point here is we've already at least accepted, or many people have in any case, the destruction of the celebration of our Savior's birth. The next step would be to act as though that now perverted day should have other instances in the course of the year. Of course, those trying to implement such things have the best reasons, right? After all, it's not as if they're trying to make a profit off the name and celebration of Jesus, regardless when they do so, is it? When I hear a sentiment like Christmas in July, I immediately recognize the scam being perpetrated. I flatly refuse to participate in such things, realizing the pure hubris on the part of those putting them out there. How do you handle such things? Obviously, that's your choice. So there's my notes. Look, I could pick a day, Independence Day, and most people would be, or some people would be upset if people were to abuse that day. Where Independence Day in March, almost everybody would have a problem with that idea. I don't know. I acknowledge there are a lot of people who wouldn't. But I could pick any number of days. Of Valentine's Day, and lots of people, well, Valentine's Day is one that they probably would allow for, frankly. And again, I'm not really a celebrant of Valentine's Day because it's a celebrant of a saint, or a celebration of a saint, and I'm not a believer in saints in the sense that the more traditional churches tend to couch them. So, for example, the Catholic Church, so that you've got Saint Valentine and Saint Nicholas and so forth, and I believe that saints are those who are members of Christ's church, period. They're the set apart for God and for Christ. So, but anyway, the point is you could take any number of days and you could duplicate those days, and you would at least find some people who would be upset. Other days they wouldn't care because those days really aren't all that meaningful to begin with. But my point is this. For the Christian, there are 2 days that are celebration days. By the way, I don't really hold with either one of them particularly much. Okay? But I know what they're intended to be for, and they're celebrations of Jesus. Right? One of them is Easter, the rising from the grave, and the other one is Christmas, the birth of Christ, the birth of Jesus. Right? These 2 days where I don't necessarily celebrate them, and particularly not in the way people do in the modern day, those 2 days are days that in my mind ought to be more or less untouchable. There should be nobody messing with those days. Yet, we have had for some time now people who would use ideas like Christmas in July. Now, fortunately, they don't seem to have done that with Easter. I'm not really sure why Easter was salvaged and Christmas wasn't. Yes, I know. You will argue, many of you, or some of you at least, that Christmas is a pagan holiday that's been gussied up to be a Christian holiday. And that's one more thing, by the way, that I don't like about it. That having been said, the idea of taking the day, naming it Christmas, which then ostensibly makes it about Jesus, and then doing a day like doing some day in July or in summertime and calling it Christmas in July or whatever, is not just bad. It's a sign of serious bad faith, in my view, in my opinion, in my way of looking at the world. And I wanted to point out that this is sort of where society has been going for some time. We have gone from a society in which children rebelled and acted badly to a society in which adults adulterated the times in that society that were special and precious to others. Valentine's Day I don't believe in, but here's the thing. Let's say that I did. Valentine's Day would be a day of love, right? So why is it about buying roses and about that sort of thing as opposed to actually being a day of love? Well, because it's beneficial to retailers and wholesalers to have that day be that thing. That's the reason. It has nothing to do with it actually being beneficial that people put copious amounts of flowers and cards out on that day. Same thing applies to days like birthdays. Birthdays ought to be days when families spend their time with the person who's celebrating the day of their birth. That's what they ought to be. My mom, who just passed very recently, on her 80th birthday, I think it was, one of my brothers, who at the time was in a good position for money, essentially made it possible for me and my mom and my wife at the time to go out and eat out and just celebrate her. And it wasn't about eating out because we wanted to splash and splurge. It was about eating out because we wanted to give her a special day. Now, this, to me, like I say, this idea of Christmas in July, there's an even bigger problem with that one than there is with birthdays. Because here we're talking about what ostensibly is the celebration of the birthday of Jesus. And if you look at my importance, or even my mom's importance, and my mom was very important to me, is very important to me, did wonderful things for me. But if you look at Jesus' birthday by comparison, if you look at the fact that Jesus was born, that's so much more important to me. And when you take that day and pollute it with various things that are intended to gain for you or for other people, you'll forgive me, but I don't consider that to be a noble cause at any point. There's just nothing noble about that in my mind. So I just wanted to kind of get out there today, and this being the last day of July, I just wanted to get out there today that we need to sort of stop this approach to life, and we need to go back. I'm not saying per se to a simpler time, but in my mind to a better time when people did things because they were noble, because they were right, because they were correct. And that to me is really what we need to be doing. I see problems, and the problems are just magnified in my mind and eye by the fact that we're doing things like Christmas in July. The problems are there regardless, and I'm not trying to say that if you did away with Christmas in July or something of that sort, those problems would just go away. They wouldn't. They would still be there. People are not necessarily being the worst version of themselves, but far from being the best version. Far from being the best. And I'm not telling you I expect perfection out of people, because I don't. And I don't think anybody with any sense would. All right, I'm running out of time, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Again, I try to keep my videos, the actual content of around 10 in around the 10-minute range. So I just want to go ahead and close this out now. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt. Today is Saturday, the 31st of July of 2021. That means tomorrow will be Sunday, the 1st of August of 2021. So we start that new month. Welcome to everybody who's here, and thank you for coming on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here. Remember that Rumble is my preferred platform. Remember that you can give me a positive or a negative Rumble on Rumble. Negative if you feel you need to. Positive by preference, obviously. You can also give me a thumbs up or a like or a thumbs down or a dislike on YouTube if you want to do that. Remember that you can comment on either of those platforms. Right now, the podcast I'm not keeping up, so when I start doing that again, you should start seeing podcasts again. We'll see how that works out. The subject for today has been Christmas in July, and tomorrow we're going to talk about Section 230, and I'm going to ask a question. Section 230, reform or kill? I have my belief on that, and I'm going to regale you with what that is. Hope you're doing well today. Hope things are going well for you, and hopefully we will see you again on Sunday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Saturday, July the 31st of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S. .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.